You're watching this video, but what if you're not watching it for the first time? What if you're remembering it? Because there's a file in Area 51, and it's not just unreadable by humans. It's contagious. It doesn't just contain information. It is information that rewrites your very perception of reality. And by merely hearing about it, by letting these concepts take root, you've already been exposed. The problem isn't what's in the file. It's what it does to you, and there's no going back. This isn't a file filled with words or images we understand. It's pure, raw data, but its logic operates on principles entirely alien to human cognition. Think of it not as a book, but as a cognitive virus. A highly sophisticated, self-replicating pathogen that targets the mind. When exposed, it doesn't just convey facts. It rewrites the operating system of your brain. It alters perception, reconfigures neural pathways, and activates dormant regions of the mind that were perhaps meant to remain dormant for a reason. It's not about understanding the content. It's about surviving the exposure. But that wasn't the worst part. Decades ago, when this anomaly was first discovered, the brightest minds at Area 51, specialists in xenolinguistics and theoretical physics, were tasked with deciphering it. They believed it was a puzzle. They were catastrophically wrong. The first subject, a brilliant linguist, spent mere minutes with the file. He emerged speaking in complex mathematical equations, describing impossible geometries. His eyes, once sharp, now saw patterns in the air, structures in the silence. He was physically unharmed, but his mind was irrevocably fractured. He saw everything but understood nothing in human terms. He was the first casualty of forbidden knowledge. And then they discovered something even more disturbing. Subsequent, more controlled experiments revealed the terrifying truth. The file doesn't just convey information. It acts as a biological trigger. It targets specific regions of the human brain, areas associated with pattern recognition, abstract thought, and even our fundamental sense of self. It's like a master key that unlocks doors in your mind that were never meant to be opened. Doors to perceptions of reality that are too vast, too complex, too contradictory for our limited consciousness to process. The result is not enlightenment, but disintegration. The brain, overwhelmed, begins to reconfigure itself in a desperate attempt to accommodate the new data, often leading to psychosis, catatonia, or a complete loss of identity. The system didn't just fail, it reacted. Those exposed, even briefly, exhibit profound behavioral changes. They become withdrawn, obsessed with patterns, driven by impulses they cannot explain. They might start drawing intricate symbols, speaking in riddles, or performing repetitive, ritualistic actions. It's as if their minds are no longer their own, but are being piloted by an unseen force, compelled to act out fragments of the file's alien logic. They are not possessed, they are reprogrammed. Their humanity slowly erodes, replaced by an echo of the file's incomprehensible purpose. They become living conduits for something that cannot be contained. But the true horror was yet to be revealed. Area 51's primary mission regarding this file is not to exploit it, but to contain it, to protect humanity from its own insatiable curiosity. The file is housed in a chamber designed to suppress all known forms of energy and information transfer. It's surrounded by layers of shielding, not to keep something in, but to prevent its influence from leaking out. Access is restricted to a handful of individuals who have undergone extensive psychological conditioning and are rotated frequently to prevent prolonged exposure. They don't study the file, they study its effects. They are the guardians of a Pandora's box of pure information, forever vigilant against the day someone might accidentally or intentionally unleash its full power. But even the guardians weren't safe. Dr. Eris Thorne, a brilliant but reckless cognitive scientist, believed he could develop a neural filter, a mental firewall, to safely process the file's data. He spent years studying the patterns of those affected, convinced he could find a loophole. He failed. During a controlled exposure, his filter collapsed. He didn't go mad in the traditional sense. Instead, he began to perceive time non-linearly. He would describe events that hadn't happened yet, or recall conversations that were still days in the future. His mind became a kaleidoscope of past, present, and future, all simultaneously accessible. He could no longer distinguish between memory and prophecy. He became a living paradox, a walking glimpse into the file's temporal distortions. He was a warning, a testament to the file's ability to unravel the very fabric of human experience. But Dr. Thorne made a mistake. This file proves that our reality, our perception of it, is far more fragile than we dare to imagine. It suggests that there are truths, forms of knowledge, that are simply not meant for us. That our brains, evolved for survival on a specific planet, are ill-equipped to handle certain cosmic realities. The file isn't evil. It's indifferent. It simply is. And its existence forces us to confront the terrifying possibility that our sanity, our very understanding of existence, is merely a carefully constructed illusion, easily shattered by a single, perfectly designed sequence of alien data. It makes you wonder, what other unreadable files exist out there, waiting to be discovered? And what if they're already open? The true terror isn't confined to Area 51. The file's influence isn't just about direct exposure. It's about the idea of it, the concepts, the fragmented truths, the whispers of its effects. These ideas, once planted, begin to replicate. They spread through narratives, through theories, through the very act of discussion. Every time you hear about it, every time you contemplate its existence, you become a vector. The file doesn't need to be read to infect. It only needs to be remembered. And the more you remember, the more it reshapes your understanding, subtly altering your reality, one thought at a time. The infection is already global. And now you've heard this. You've processed the concept of information that alters behavior, that activates dormant parts of the brain, that changes perception. You've allowed these ideas to take root in your mind. The problem isn't what's in the file. It's what it does to whoever reads it. But what if the telling of the file, the description of its effects, is itself a diluted form of exposure? What if, by merely contemplating its existence, you've already allowed a fragment of its alien logic to seep into your consciousness? You've been warned. You've been exposed to the idea of the unreadable. And the human mind, once exposed to a new paradigm, can never truly unsee it. The seeds of doubt, of altered perception, have been sown, and they're starting to bloom. What if you're not watching this video, but remembering it?